I got the new Nomad Cosmetics palette. Nomad sent me this. Nomad's Halloween releases are the most loved, and rightfully so. This is the outer packaging, which is a little bit more gloomy and dark and gray. You have three witches there and a couple of cats in a very spooky town. And then the inner packaging is a little bit more colorful and it's shifty. You see the witch, you don't see the witch as you shift the palette back and forth. I am filming on my phone today because I just moved. I bought a condo. Life has been crazy. New job, new home, and I don't know where the laptop is. So I'm just filming on my phone really quick for you guys. Nomad always brings me back from whenever I'm taking a break. And here I am. So let's look at the inside. The inside looks really colorful. I feel like that's very on theme with the Halloween vibes. You have purples, you have greens, you have some dark, olivey, taupey shades, a couple of them. Yeah, I'm feeling this, but I do want to see if I already have some of these shades because I have quite a collection of Nomad palettes. For 10% off, make sure to use the code JKMakeup, and palette will be available 6 p.m. Eastern on Monday the 25th. Let's get started. I want to swatch every single shade and try to find a comparable one from my collection. Okay, so starting off with this peachy shimmer shade called Witching Hour, I'm going to compare it with Navitus from the Fete de Provence palette, the American Parks palette, and the Hudson Valley palette. Here they are side by side. Not that like similar, but I would say pretty different. So let's move on to the next shade. Okay, now we're looking at Haunted Happenings. This is a really interesting muted peach, and I don't see any peach in any of the palettes that are this muted. So this fall launch from a few years ago, it's pretty bright. Maybe this Haunted, which one is this called? Haunted Europe palette, but I feel like this one is muted, but it's a little too light. Like you can barely see that next to it. Yeah, I mean, I have all of these on my bed and I don't see anything quite like it. Here's some more here. The ice one, these are pretty different. Maybe Route 66. Oh yeah. This has a lot of those peachy ones. Let's see if this one called Gemini Giant works. I'll show you in a second. Okay, so Gemini Giant is a little too bright. And then the other one, Go West, is a little too dark. And it's more like almost like a brick red. Yeah, so nothing quite like this one. Very unique shade. So the first shade here is Harvest Moon. It's a really nice bright orange, and I did find some other similar shades in other palettes. The second one is from one of the fall palettes from a few years ago, and the shade is called Foliage Trail. And then the third one here is from the Route 66 palette. Right here, this one is called Monger Moss. It is a little bit different, maybe a little more pink in it compared to Harvest Moon. Yeah, I would say a little bit more pink. Next shade that I'm looking at is this one called Spirits and Spells. And I couldn't really find anything similar like this. This is a very interesting, unique gray shade. Here is the swatch. And I found a couple of other gray shades in some of the other palettes, but they're very different. So this middle shade is from this Princess palette. What was this called? Fairy Tale Europe palette. And yeah, it's different. And then there was this Tokyo palette. That's also very different. So I would say this one's pretty unique. This next shade, Old Bearing Point, is stunning. The camera is not doing it justice. Here is the swatch, the very first one. It almost feels like a pinky gray shade. I'm not quite sure how to describe it. It has like a pinkishness to it, maybe a little bit of purple. Couldn't find anything quite like it. I tried to go for some of the purpley shades from other palettes. Nothing really quite worked out. This one is called Witchcraft, and I would say that one is pretty unique too. Is this gray shade right here. It's a pretty typical gray, I would say. And any of the other grays in other palettes did not match. So pretty unique and nice gray shade in this palette. It actually looks purple, so in the pan, but it turned out to be gray, maybe with a little bit of purple undertone that the camera is not picking up. Next one I'm looking at is called Salem Willows. Couldn't find anything like it either. I tried a couple of swatches here for you guys, and yeah, nothing quite like it. And I thought I was really going to be able to find something similar. But the greens in other palettes are very different. Like the greens in this palette are more like mint greens. This is the Chamonix Après Ski palette. And I thought there might be some greens in this palette, but no, that's more like purples in the Chicago Speakeasy palette. And then the green in here, this one is Route 66, is a little too dark. So nothing quite like it. Next we have this mid-tone green matte shade called Dark Demons. Couldn't really find anything like it except for this green one here. I think this is the American Parks palette. Yes. So similar, but still a little bit different. The green shade in the new palette, I feel like there's less green in it than the American Parks green. The American Parks green is like your real nice parrot green. Next we have the shade called the Crucible. Here is the swatch. I'm pretty sure there's nothing quite like this in any of the palettes, but let's take a look. Yeah, I don't see anything like it. Nothing. Here's a matte shade that's similar, but not a shimmer shade. Well, the next shade is this matte shade called Devil's Buck. So let's see if I can find that one. Here is the shade. And then I took the shade that I just pointed out previously from the fall palette called Wine Harvest. And they're both pretty similar. Devil's Book might be slightly more pink, but they are very similar. Let's try out these purple shades. Now I'm going to start off with the shimmer shade called Gallows Hill. And that shade is the one right here. It's more like a lilac purple shade. And couldn't quite find anything like that. I really thought that with all the purple shades that Nomad recently launched, that I would find something similar, but no, like some of the other purples are different. They're more blue based, and these purples here are a little too much pink. They're not really purple. I think they're from the Tokyo palette. So yeah, nothing like it. I am really surprised. And no matte purple anywhere in any of the other palettes either. Shade we're looking at is this shade here called Witch Hunt, and that is this one that's in the middle. Couldn't find anything quite like it. Some of the other shimmer shades were either more like a mint green or something that's like a parrot green, but nothing quite like this. I feel like this is a nice balance between blue and green. I don't know if that makes sense, but I would say it's a pretty unique shade. Seven Gables, and the closest one that I could find is from this fall launch called Hudson Valley, this Bed and Breakfast shade. Here they are side by side, a little bit different, but somewhat similarities. I mean, they might look the same on the eyes. Next one is also pretty unique called Howling Halloween. It has this pink undertone, which I have not seen in any other shades in Nomad palettes. Here it is. Howling Halloween. So here is Hocus Pocus. Nothing quite like it. I don't see any other purple shade like this one in many of the other palettes that I have. It is called Rope's Mansion, and I really thought I was going to be able to find something similar to this, especially as I looked over here. That one looked really similar, but when you put them side by side, they're actually quite different. The Rope's Mansion shade is purple, but it has a little bit more blue in it, but it's also not your typical bluish purple. So it's a lot more purple with a touch of blue. And then the last shade we have in this palette is called Witch City, which is a really dark black shade. And the only thing that I could find that would be somewhat similar are these two shades here. One is actually more of a gray shade from, wait, was it this palette? Huh. Now I don't think it was this palette. Yeah, this one is super gray. I think it was the Fairy Tale Europe palette, yeah. Other one I found is this one called Club Knot. And this one is from a palette that I've never used that I recently got from Nomad. They relaunched this palette. It's called Berlin Underground. This palette looks pretty cool. So the black in that palette is much more similar to Witch City, but Witch City is like your blackest black. It's a very deep, bold, bright black. Overall, I would say this palette is pretty unique. I only found a couple of shades that were already existing, or there were similar shades already in other palettes, but for the most part, it is a very unique color story. It's very different from other colors in Nomad's palettes. So I think this is a good addition to your collection if you like collecting Nomad palettes. And even outside of Nomad collection, I think this is a good palette. It's very versatile. There's greens, there's this maroonish shades, there's purples. It's a lot of colors. I am curious to see if the colors will go together with each other, but usually the type of eyeshadow I use is one and done, or I'll use two and be done. So palettes like these actually work out for me because I get to try on different shades, but I am curious to see if they will work together with each other. So stay tuned for another video with a bunch of looks for you guys. And I have to update you about my life, about all the craziness that has been going on. So I hope this comparison was helpful for you guys, and I will see you around. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. Bye.